is named Missy. I think it's technically Melissa, but like, she's like, no. Okay, so she's someone that I've known for a while. We've connected at different points in our journeys and recently become more connected. And she's decided to come in and learn from some of the things I've expanded on. And I'm getting the beautiful opportunity to learn some of the things she's expanded on. And I wanted to bring her on to just share her experience. Did you find our questions that we had, Missy? You can come off mute.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Well, I gotta go find them really quick. Okay.
Yeah, but if you want to ask me them one-on-one, that's probably better for my brain.
Yeah, it's good. I'm just covering my bases here. The reason, friends, that I'm doing this live is because I'm learning that some people, that social proof is really important to see, like, who are the kind of people that works with Robin, what is their journey? What is it like? Where are they at? Is this really what I want to do? Because when I talk to a lot of you that are watching this today, you've had a chat with me. You're like, I don't know if I can do this. That's a lot of the things that I hear is that self-belief. They say, I think your program would help me, but I don't think that I can do it. There's really a self-belief there. And so bringing some people on that can share, like, what is it really like? So Missy, tell us, where were you before you came in here? Like, what were you seeing? What was the thing that you're kind of like, maybe I want to do the elevated mother experience with Robin? Like, what was it that you needed to hear or see that brought you in and said, this is probably something I want to do?
Sure. Okay. So first of all, I'll give you like a brief synopsis of who I am. So I am a mom of 6. My oldest is 18. My youngest is now barely 4. For the last couple of years, I've homeschooled most of my kids, and they've kind of trickled back to school, my older ones. And so life's just been really crazy. I think everybody can relate, like going through COVID in the last couple of years, been really crazy. After my last 2 babies I had in my mid-30s, so I already had 4 kids and had them back to back, and had really bad postpartum anxiety with my 6th baby. So just to set the stage of that, I had 2 babies in 21 months, had my 4th, went into the pandemic. My husband's a pharmacist, so he's pretty much like gone all the time during that situation. And the conundrum of it was I had all my kids home, I was homeschooling. I absolutely loved that choice. But I think all of you can get to a point in motherhood where you feel overwhelmed and you start to feel trapped. Like you start to feel like, I don't have any other choices. Like I would look around and be like, okay, I know I need to ask for help. I know I need this. I know I need that. But I felt trapped because there was no way to get what I needed. And so I started, on one hand, I've been a fitness coach for years. So I was doing all the things. Like I was taking care of myself. I was eating healthy. I was doing my workouts. But I just felt super stuck. Like I just felt like, I even felt, maybe this is going to sound weird, but I even felt super supported by God. I sort of had these couple of years where they were really hard, but I had this outpouring of the Spirit. But I just still felt stuck. Like I felt like, yeah, I mean, that's the best way to put it. I felt like I started to get resentful of my family and all the choices that I had made, right? I had made all those choices. I had the babies. I had felt like that was what God asked me to do. And I started to feel really resentful and stuck. And I absolutely hated feeling that way. And I could feel like the resistance with my kids and my husband and I was like, what am I going to do? And I would try to do something and I just never felt like I could get like over the hump of feeling like I knew what I was doing again. And I think if anybody's been through postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety or through a really difficult point in motherhood, I think it really can take away like the confidence that you have in yourself. You start to really doubt yourself. Like, am I really a good mom? Like, am I really talking to God? So that's kind of where I was. Like I got to this point where it was so challenging in my life just my life circumstances that I was like, well, there's no way out. Am I really doing this well? And so that's kind of when I came into the program. And someone who was in the life coaching grabbed onto the phrase that your success is certain. And that was a phrase that brought me into the program for a lot of reasons. But I looked at Robin and I was like, gosh, like, how is she experiencing so much ease and peace in her life? Oh, she's just as busy as me. She's got lots of kids. How is she so sure that her success is certain? And that's kind of where I came into the program initially. So anyway, hopefully that answers the question.
That was great. That was awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So, what's been then? You've watched all the class, she's now moved into solid ground. What's one of the changes that you are most proud of? Like something that's happened that you're most proud of since learning the material and kind of being in our space? What is one of the things you're most proud of that's happened?
Yeah, I think the first thing that I want to bring up is I think a lot of people do have calls with Robin and they're like, can I do this? And I'll tell you, I have a kid going to college. I have 2 busy boy teenagers. I have 2 really crazy little kids and an 11-year-old daughter. My house is so busy every single day. And I looked at the program and I was like, I just don't know. Like, can I invest the time? Because I wanted to make sure that if I came in, I had the time to do it. And this is what I realized is that for me, I had put every single person in my life on the back burner for so like myself. I had put everyone else in front of myself for so long. And I actually didn't think that I was doing that. I was like, oh, I'm taking care of myself. Like I'm self-caring myself, but I actually wasn't like actually asking myself, Missy, what do you want? What do you actually want? What do you actually need? I was surface doing that, but I wasn't allowing myself to actually go deep and do that. So I think this is where I am most proud. And I have seen the biggest shifts. I just posted about this the other day, and this might seem small, but everybody knows like that pre-bedtime psychotic hour, right? That happens. We call it the witching hour. Well, it's when the sun's setting. And for me, like, that's like, we live out in the country and it's like the most beautiful time of day. So I told my kids, I was like, no, every day when the sun sets, mom is going for a walk down our hill. And I have 6 kids. They like to follow me. And I just was like, nope, you guys are going to do this for me. So I started taking that 15 minutes for myself. And I felt so selfish. Like I was like, oh, I should let the kids come and the dog come. And then finally I realized, no, like that's actually not what I want. And I think as a mom, we have a hard time being like, no, I don't really want my kids to go. Because we feel guilty about that. But this has been the biggest shift for me, is really looking at myself and my dreams and my desires and my time, and having the courage to ask myself, what do you really want your life to look like every day? Like, do you really want to homeschool all your kids next year? Do you really, you know what I mean? And those are tough questions to ask yourself, because a lot of times we don't want to look at the answer. We don't want to tell ourselves the truth. So that idea of really having the courage to go inside myself and ask myself the question, what do you really want? What do you really care about? What do you really need? And actually put myself first has completely shifted my entire household, really. And I'm still grappling with that. Like even this morning, okay, I got up, I have this call, and you're gonna laugh, Robin, but I'm an hour earlier than Robin. I'm on Pacific time. So I got up and my kids were being crazy. And I was like, of course, everyone else is asleep. And I'm taking care of these crazy kids. And I was like, I'm such a victim, And then I sat with myself, it's like, no, you're not. Like, you have a choice how to be here. And that's the other thing, is like, it's not that I'm like magically a different mom. It's that I recognize that I can be a different mom. It's like, okay, I can choose to be the grouchy mom and feel like a victim this morning, or I cannot. And then I had this call and I was like, oh my gosh, I realized, oh, it's at 9:30 my time. It was like already 8:45. And I was like, oh no. So I'd like go wake up my husband who's been working super hard. And I was like, hey, like you need to get up. And I probably wouldn't have like felt so bad about that before. And now I was just like, nope, I'm like, get up, honey. You gotta take the kids. Because this is where I wanted to be this morning. And I've just stopped apologizing for it. I don't know how many people pleasers there are in this group, but I bet that a lot of you pretty much apologize for everything. I would stake my life on that. So just feeling like I have ownership of my life again, even though I'm a mom, I mean, like, I look at the next 6 months and I actually feel excited. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I actually get to choose what that looks like. And I haven't felt that in a long time. So anyway.
That's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Tell us just a little, like, what's the value this program has brought to more than even just yourself? When you say my self-perception, where I'm going, my family, what's the value been? What does it mean to you to have these changes?
What's interesting is we talk about this a lot inside the program of how one small shift is actually a massive shift. And I think the biggest thing about this program that I think would surprise most moms is the personal accountability part, right? We expect our kids to take personal accountability, right? For the things they leave on the floor and stuff, but we actually don't, at least I didn't actually take personal accountability for my feelings, for the way I showed up all the time. I think we get into a place in motherhood, especially where we react to life. And I think that's been the biggest benefit to me is just getting myself back into the driver's seat. And I think overall, what's so amazing and irreplaceable about this type of an experience, because I love that Robin calls her group the elevated mother experience. Okay. Because it's an experience and you get in there and you're doing the work yourself, right? Like you're going through the workbook, you're watching the videos, you're doing your one-to-ones, but the work is actually inside yourself. But the coolest part is that you're in the group with other moms who are doing the work on themselves, who are having the courage to look at themselves and be like, yeah, I don't like that about myself, and tell themselves the truth. And it is hard to tell yourself the truth sometimes. I mean, and like Robin says, well, how is that actually serving you? Like yelling at your kids. And you're like, oh, it's not. And you're like, oh, but somewhere it is. Like somewhere there's a story or a belief or something. And like, you have to look at yourself. And that can be a very lonely road. And so for me, I've been doing work on myself for years. Okay. That's just kind of the person. I'm always trying to improve. Not always a great trait because I'm a perfectionist and I'm working on that. But what's cool about this group is there becomes this community of, like she says, like social proof, right? Where another mom gets in there is like, yeah, I see this about myself and I'm going to change it. And it's hard and it's awkward and I totally did not do well today. And everyone in the group is like, yeah, me too. Like there's this feeling of like, oh, I'm not the only one who experiences that. And I think motherhood can feel like such an island, and we can feel really alone, especially because we are trying to be better moms. We are trying to take responsibility to show up for our families. But like that work is internal. So it's like you're doing your internal work, but you're externally having the support in a community where everyone else is doing that next to you. And it is really, really powerful. And I actually talked about this in the group the other day in my spiritual study of just like how anciently women would come together in circle and they would share their stories, and that's how they would teach each other, and that's how they would grow. And we've kind of lost that in our culture, especially in the United States. Like honestly, when do you get together with like all the moms in your neighborhood and like sit around and be like, dude, how's parenting going for you? Like I mean, sure, maybe you have friends that you talk about that, but like, how deep do you actually go? I mean, even at church, like, how deep can you actually go in one lesson at church? You don't. So that's what this community has done for me, is like, it's allowed me to, one, hold myself accountable to finding the time and the motivation to do the work myself. And it's given me that baseline community to be like, oh, okay, like I'm supported here and everyone else is doing too. Sorry, my alarm clock just went off. um, so yeah, I mean, I think that is maybe what people don't see, because I mean, in the free Facebook group, there's some of that, but there isn't so much of that camaraderie and that vulnerability where people are really dug in and supporting each other as much as there is inside of the community. So that's been really amazing.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
What is one piece of wisdom, like some truth bomb, something that you would, when people are going to watch this, and people are going to watch this recording, what's something you want to leave on this recording today? That you're like, I just want moms to know this. What is that you'd like to share with us?
Sure. And I think this is also probably one of the massive spiritual shifts that I've had. And you were kind of towing around this in the coaching call, is that it kind of goes with the success of certain things, but it expands on that with the idea that God is past, present, and future all at once, right? So God sees our end result, right? So we don't see that in ourselves. We pick ourselves apart and we're like, I'm clearly not that now. But for me, like really sinking into the idea that the best version of me, the successful version of me, the most loving version of me already exists. God already knows that, Missy. And it's really helped me to visualize that and to sit with that, and to realize that, I feel like so much of the time in religion, it's kind of like self-improvement, right? We're like, oh, well, I will experience God when I get to the end, when I'm perfect, and we sort of hold God at arm's length, because we are not ready to love ourselves completely like God loves us, right? It's us that's like holding Jesus away, going like, okay, like when I'm perfect enough, I will let you in, right? But for me, what's been life-changing is to really finally just say, that's actually not what God is. Like, God is the right now. And God, in whatever mess of motherhood you are in, and it's messy, God is actually looking at you in that mess right now as the best version of yourself. It already exists. And the only person that doesn't believe that is me. And so really sinking into that and like allowing Jesus Christ to really be with me in the mess and to speak that truth to my heart consistently. Like when you yell at your kid or you lose your patience with your husband and you're like, oh, like to invite Christ back in and just be like, well, actually, like you're already at the end. You're already perfect. You're already that good. So just let yourself pick that version of you back up and move forward with that person. Robin often talks about making decisions out of our future self, right? Or our higher self. But that's kind of what it's come to mean to me, is like really allowing Jesus Christ to be in the moment with me and to not be like, oh, I'll have Jesus at the end. Be like, no, like Jesus is right now. Jesus is telling you who you are right now in your most perfect form. Pick it up. Like, let yourself have it, and I think we don't do that very well. At least I didn't. And so that has been like an overwhelming shift to finally just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna actually believe Jesus. That actually feels really good. And that's actually scripturally sound, and true. It's actually the truth. And I think we talk ourselves out of allowing God to love us that much. Like, how could God really love us that much? Oh, wait, God does. We don't love ourselves that much. And so that I'm working on it. It's a process, but it's been amazing for me.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I resonate with that journey a lot of realizing that Jesus and Heavenly Father, God, whatever like thing that resonates with you is not abstract.
Yeah.
That was a choice I was making to see it that way. It's like, oh, like you said, in the scriptures, that's not what he says ever.
That's
Says,
actually not scripture.
I'm over
even
here
true.
and you're over here. We can't talk. If anything, it's exactly the opposite. Come to me, come to me, come to me. We're just like, oh, we actually have to choose that. Interesting.
We actually have to actually believe it, you know?
Yep, exactly. Thank
And
you so
then
much for sharing.
Yeah.